on radio and on your smartphone. This is Talk TV.
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
There you are. Welcome to another edition of the greatest television show ever made. It's presented by me, Kevin O'Sullivan. That's me. And it's called What Just Happened. And my guests this week are barrister and futurologist Andrew Eborn. Welcome, Andrew. A debutant on the show. And remind me, you're
Lewis Hamilton. Who do you think I am? Good grief.
Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton. No, this is JJ Anisiobi. He's a regular on the show, and even though I never tell him this, I'm really glad that he comes along, so I can laugh at him. So I can laugh, not with him, at him. Here are a few of my thoughts on one of the important issues of the week, I would suggest. In March, 8 months ago, Rishi Sunak promised this long-suffering nation that he would solve the migrant crisis. Standing behind a lectern emblazoned with the immortal words, "Stop the boats," our dear leader vowed to end the constant procession of asylum seekers crossing the channel in their thousands. That the Prime Minister's mission is failing on an epic scale cannot be disputed. Still they come, still they embark on their illegal voyages from France, and still Broken Britain shells out a staggering £8 million every single day to accommodate, for the most part, undocumented foreign young men about whom we know nothing. Carry on at this rate, and in 3 years' time, the UK's nightly bill to put up and feed these uninvited visitors will soar to an extraordinary £30 million, which adds up to more than 11 billion quid a year. Surely no self-respecting government would ever let that happen. Well, look into this unacceptable state of affairs and you may soon conclude that there are two stories here. The official story, in which our dynamic PM is determined to stamp out illegal immigration once and for all and is taking giant steps forward, sealing deals to return migrants to their home countries, swapping hotels for barges and disused air bases to send a message that there's no easy ride for uninvited visitors in Fortress UK. The days of four-star luxury are numbered. In other words, at long last, there will be deterrents to persuade new arrivals hoping to stay ad infinitum that things will not be comfortable. There will be no more room at the inn. Britain is shutting up shop. That's what Rishi wants you to believe. That might even be what Rishi himself actually believes. But here's the problem. There's another story that points to a government that has pretty much given up on an escalating mega problem to which it has no solution. Meet Graham King, the so-called king of the migrant hotels. In just 12 lucrative months, Mr. King's perfectly legal business was paid an astonishing £1.3 billion to house asylum seekers by the Home Office. That's £3.5 million a day. Mr. King's current profits have soared to 60 million quid, and the enterprising man is on course to become the nation's first migrant crisis billionaire. All courtesy of hapless British taxpayers. But here's the even more shocking thing. Graham King's Home Office contract runs until, wait for it, drum roll, 2029. That's 6 years. So while the Prime Minister was assuring us that he'll, and I quote, stop the boats, Home Office officials were quietly doing deals based on not stopping the boats for years to come. Bear in mind that Graham King is just one increasingly wealthy entrepreneur cashing in on the government's ineffectiveness. There are others. So there you have it, folks. The two sides of the migrant crisis. The one that Rishi Sunak says he can solve, and the one that Home Office civil servants don't expect anyone to solve any time soon. That's about the size of it, isn't it, Andrew?
There you go. Absolutely hilarious, isn't it? I mean, what's interesting, he's given more than, more than the whole aid
to Syria this guy's received. And I do find it extraordinary. But I do think we're focusing on the wrong person, aren't we? It's not Graham King's fault. He's just happened to...
I didn't say it's perfectly legal.
It's perfectly legal, but it's not his fault. He's got the
businessman.
He's a businessman.
This is an opportunity. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
The migrant crisis should not be a business opportunity, but it's not only is a business opportunity, it's a giant business opportunity. Am I right, JJ?
Yeah, it's crazy, but I'm so used to this government failing us that I'm not even surprised. You hear these stories and you think, of course, it's the Tories in charge. This is Sunak, this is Johnson, this is Truss, and a bit of Cameron. This is all of them together. Oh, and don't forget Boris Johnson. The king of the clowns.
Who could forget Boris?
Who could forget the king of the clowns?
Absolutely.
This is what I've come to expect. He is king of the clowns.
King of the migrant hotels, king of the clowns, loads of kings. You can't move for kings.
But it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
What's the solution?
The solution?
Yeah.
A new government, for a start, because this government... Anything they
Not
say...
one run by Keir Starmer.
Oh, come on. King
come
of the
on.
Clowns.
Maybe one by Reeves instead. Maybe
Well,
a
do
government
you
run by
like
her.
a bit of Reeves and stuff?
Yeah, I think he should do a better job than Starmer. He's got a weak chin, that man. But I digress. The solution is we set up processing centres in France and in mainland Europe. And if you don't go through those centres to come to the UK, then as soon as you step on UK soil via a small boat, you are straight away booted off. If
And
there's options for everyone,
target the evil traffickers. They're the real people. Forget your
absolutely.
Graham Kings of this world and
Yeah.
the king clowns and everything else. Go for the traffickers, the evil
I say
thing
go
that
for the
happens there.
migrants too.
What would you do with them? Why?
They're breaking our laws.
Well, no, but some have really terrible sob stories, and you're right.
Yeah,
there are
which
a
I
few.
don't believe.
Well, no,
Next.
some of them do, though.
Someone comes over
now.
now from Palestine, you're going to say, no, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin.
Well, that's
Look, if you're coming from...
I'm exaggerating for
Yeah, of
comic
course,
effect.
of course.
But I would certainly have some serious questions, because I'll tell you right now, I bet you we've got people landing on small boats and dinghies onto our beaches going, this come from Gaza. You know, I'm in need of help. But no, you didn't. You came from France.
And you're right.
Via Albania.
And I threw my passport overboard. All of those things you need to ask questions about. But there are some legitimate ones, and we have to remember there are people behind some of this. It's the evil traffickers who I'd target first.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to compliment this show on its monument to diversity.
Oh, it's good.
We don't allow women here, you know. This is where the men get together. I should have brought some port and cigars.
Oh, we should like that.
Look at the ladies have gone out now. What are we going to do about this, Mike? Anyway, it's time now. This has been a very bad conversation. It is time now for a bad ad.
Over 1 million women around the UK are at it. They've replaced their multi-purpose cleaners with Silitbang Universal Degreaser.
It's great on worktops. I don't need any other cleaner.
Hobs, grills, surfaces, pots and pans.
It's so wonderful.
Silitbang Universal Degreaser. Bang, and the dirt is gone.
Let it bang! Put it there! They'll clean your dirt! Why is he shouting at us like some sort of orator?
To get the message through to you that it works, seal it, bang.
It does. And all the annoying adverts are the ones that you remember. It's like the shake and vac. Do you remember that one? People used to
You do the shake and bag.
Come on.
Put the fitness bag.
That's the one.
Do the shake and bag. Yeah.
See? Yeah, that one. I think it was sung better than that, but it was...
Well, that's the damn truth.
That was the principle. You remember the annoying ones. And so the annoying ones are stick in your memory, and next time you want to have a bang, that's the one you'll go for.
Do you remember, this is how old I am. I can remember this advert. 1001 cleans a big, big carpet for less than half a crown.
Half a crown? Half a crown!
That's 12.5p.
I love it.
Used to have the big...
They were enormous, they were great, the half
a crown coins, you needed a wheelbarrow to carry them. They were massive. I believe now it's time for mean tweets. This is the section of the show when we go sift through my enormous fan mail bag, and I think that you've got the first complimentary tweets about me, JJ.
I have. Here's number one. Mike Graham and Kevin O'Sullivan, the Beavis and Butthead of TV. Or as I prefer to call them, the gutless, big mouth, talentless rat team.
Yeah, I got a message for you. But I take it well, don't I?
Viewers about like...
It's like every week we have a joke, Andrew.
Right.
We always laugh at these people. They send these tweets.
Yeah. I love it.
But they think they've destroyed you. Oh, no, I've seen that. I can't carry on. Like we care. Keep them coming. Give us all the material we need for mean tweets. You got some?
I've got some as well. Start off because it all started with the writers'
Are they
strike.
about you?
If Andrew Eborn is a futurist who can foresee the future, I wonder if he can predict how annoying I find him.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Dorset Al.
Very good.
That's very good.
I think it's time for a real break now.
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Now, are the 2,000 entertainers who signed a virtue signalling letter calling for an end to the horror in Gaza surprised that their dramatic intervention has made no difference whatsoever? I'm not. Are you? Are these shining showbiz stars aware that when they accused governments, including Britain's, of not only tolerating but also aiding and abetting Israel's alleged war crimes, no proven war crimes had been committed, and that this remains the case? In their heartbreak letter, the Song and Dance Brigade say that beleaguered Palestinians are facing collective punishment on an unimaginable scale as Israel takes out its fury on innocent civilians. Collective punishment is a war crime. Laying siege to your military enemy is not. Nevertheless, the Luvvies demand that our governments end their military support for Israel's actions. There are, of course, two sides to every conflict, but this chorus of disapproval from actors, singers, dancers, comedians, and others from the wonderful world of entertainment only has one pantomime villain and only one hero. As always with the left, Israel is bad and Palestine is good. Nothing, it seems, is enough to change that narrative, which is presumably why the Luvvies letter, signed by the likes of Steve Coogan, Tilda Swinton, Charles Dance, Maxine Peake and Miriam Margolyes, avoided the awkward truth of what the Palestinian terrorists did when they invaded Israel on October the 7th. In fact, the assembled celebrities steered clear of even mentioning Hamas at all. No reference to the innocent Israelis who were executed on their doorsteps, the women and children who were brutally raped by Hamas's murderous thugs, the babies who were shot in their cots, some beheaded, the 260 revelers at a pop concert who were cut down in a hail of bullets as they ran for their lives, the 200 or so terrified hostages who were kidnapped and are now held captive in the grim tunnel dungeons beneath Gaza. No, the grotesque war crimes committed by Hamas were not deemed worthy of inclusion in the heartfelt missive from the jesters and the jugglers who seem to believe their opinions are somehow game-changing. Obviously, entertainers have as much right as anyone else to assail us with their worldview, but to frame the escalating tension in the Middle East as the fault of Israel committing war crimes is as prejudiced as it is flat out wrong. The only indisputable war crimes so far have been carried out by Hamas on behalf of Palestinians, most of whom were just as sickened by what their terrorist leaders did as the rest of the world was. A few days after the Artists for Palestine letter was published, Steve Coogan issued a statement stressing that he does condemn Hamas's massacre of the innocents. Why didn't he notice that glaring omission in the first place? Other artists who initially signed have now removed their names, perhaps realising that a bit of sympathy for the Israelis is in order here, and that just maybe denouncing the monsters who butchered families in their homes might be a bit of an idea. Could it be that in their studios and on their stages, these left-leaning Luvvies are so used to being passionately pro-Palestine that they failed to spot that this time Israel is the victim? Israel didn't start this, Hamas did. And if they really can't conquer their own prejudice And if they really can't tell right from wrong, maybe the shallow showbiz shower should stick to their little plays and programmes and leave real life to people who know something about it. What was your take on this actor's letter?
Yeah, it's again what you come to expect from I know, and I am a lefty, but it's what you come to expect from
Yes, I know.
yeah, from these rich lefties. It's always the same kind of rhetoric. I don't know why they have an issue with Israel, but there seems to be a prejudice there against Israel, I would say, because as you say in the initial letter, it doesn't say anything about Hamas. They don't go in that letter and say, we completely condemn the actions of Hamas, the terrorist group, they're evil, blah, blah. They don't say anything about that. They don't say anything about the October 7th massacre. It's just Israel needs to stop.
Yeah, I mean,
it's called a ceasefire.
No, absolutely. And Ajay, as I said in my monologue, you know, entertainers, performers, comedians, actors, they've got as much right to tell us what they think about anything as the rest of us. But I do think it's sort of almost sad that they think that their voice really, really matters. Oh, look, somebody who's in a sitcom says they don't like what's going on in Gaza. That's completely changed my view. But they've got the right to do this. But there's a kind of awful entitlement about it. And with Steve Coogan, who, you know, I've got my reservations about him, but he's a very talented performer. He signed this thing. And I think afterwards, I don't know what his thought processes were exactly, but I think afterwards he looked at it and said, oh, wait a minute, we should have said something about what Hamas did. And to his credit, he came out and said, look, I should stress, I do condemn that. But I think due to the world he lives in, that when he first saw the text of that letter, he didn't notice that Hamas weren't even mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's despicable. And they always say that the first casualty in war is the truth.
Yeah.
And actually what happens, I assume a lot of people who've come out in outrage, not only a Gary Lineker defender, but I actually think I've read the letter. I don't know, but I've read the letter.
Still can't get over that.
but can I say...
TV, you can't come out and say that.
Thank you. But let me say one thing. When people say they don't condemn in the letter, let me just read you this bit. But for now, while condemning every act of violence, they say it in the letter. So you can't say they don't condemn
every
it.
act of violence. They should. Specific.
They should. There's a couple of things. They should absolutely have made it very clear. Hamas is a terrorist organisation, and it's despicable what happened on October the 7th. What he did, our friend Steve Coogan, on October the 22nd, he said, it goes without saying that what Hamas did is evil beyond imagination. It is evil beyond imagination. Yeah. What we have to do is make sure we shine more light and less heat on the situation. The language of war is despicable, and what's happened is the poison and prejudice that we see online, social media, has now spilt onto the streets, and we've got to make sure we take away the heat from that and basically try to restore some sort of sense of dignity and respect for people on all sides.
I want to know what these actors are going to do. Are they going to send loads of aid? Are they going to donate millions of cash? No. Probably not. Just remember Boko Haram when they took away the girls in Nigeria. Yeah. Everyone held the signs, bring back our girls. What do they do outside of that? It's
Nothing.
Okay to do these virtue signals.
But here's another thing. You'll know this as a lawyer, Andrew. What I really object to about this letter is it contains in it a prejudiced lie that there have been war crimes committed in this conflict, and that was by Hamas, no doubt about it. Yeah. Israel so far has not committed any war crimes. It is not guilty at this stage of collective punishment. So they accuse in this letter, right off the bat, they say our government's aiding and abetting the collective punishment. It is not committing collective punishment. To accuse Israel of collective punishment is to accuse it of a war crime, and that is a seriousness that these jesters and jugglers don't clearly understand.
Well, whilst we've got the avalanche of alliteration, there's a couple of things, and I think it's really important to emphasise, is that America and the UK have all said to Israel, hang about, you've got to make sure that you don't target civilians.
How they get on with that?
Well, exactly. And that's the problem.
Israel's not listening. Israel doesn't care.
That's the problem, isn't it? So we're saying at the moment
I think Israel's got the right to dictate its own destiny.
It's got the right to defend itself and against the terrorist organisation that is Hamas. And there are obligations on the Terrorism Act of 2000, and offences are committed if you support them publicly, and that should be looked at on the streets, because we're not doing enough about that at the moment. There are very specific offences, and we need to make sure that happens. But I think we have to be really, really careful. Not all Palestinians are Hamas. And I think, because what's happening...
and it's dreadful and a horrible tragedy that lots of innocent Palestinians are dying, about 7,000 to 8,000 so far, and rising fast because, as we speak, the land invasion has clearly happened. So we're talking about an escalating war here, and that is dreadful. That is dreadful. But when these banjo people, these song and dance actors and everything, say, oh, it's just collective punishment. Well, it's not. It is laying siege to an enemy. Now, Hamas doesn't care about the death of Palestinians, so they base themselves right in the middle of civilians. That's where Israel's military enemy is, beneath the buildings of the Gaza Strip, and that's why Israel is allowed to lay siege to Gaza. So don't blame Israel for this, blame Hamas.
But there's a lot of questions to be answered, aren't there? I mean, to talk about question everything, people talk about Benjamin Netanyahu and the issues there. How did one of the best security services in the world let this slip? And that's extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, he's facing some sort of political Armageddon when this conflict is over. There's not much doubt about that. Other members of his administration have said, we will step down when this is over, because that was a dreadful security collapse. And of course, this explains, I think, to some extent, the ferocity of this Israeli campaign, because Benjamin Netanyahu is personally embarrassed, and he's personally determined to avenge what happened to his people. And frankly, I don't want to see violence, but I do want Hamas taught a lesson. You can't go into a foreign country and kill 1,400 people.
No, you're absolutely right.
That.
Call that out, and I think we all stand on that one.
Absolutely.
Time now for another bad ad.
Lost in a legal jungle? Have no fear. The lawman is here.
I settle auto accident cases, and I also handle sexual harassment cases in the workplace. #MeToo. As a former professional cheerleader, I know the playbook.
DUI? BUI? Traffic citation? Let the lawman take care of that situation.
Case dismissed.
Call me, 1-833 for Jungle. The lawman never sleeps. Open 24/7 to serve you.
Here you go, Andrew. Why don't you get an advert like that?
The lawman never sleeps. Where are you? The lawman never sleeps. And I got the tie as well. Did you notice that?
Why haven't you got an
It's
advert
like a
like that?
uniform.
You
No,
get some
I
more
could do
business.
that.
Get your hair like that.
I could do my hair like that. Well, I got a tie to match my eyes, so that's got to be good as well. The lawman never sleeps. I love it. It's got to be
a
good.
former cheerleader working with him as well.
I'm a former cheerleader.
Well, I could
I
be
trust
that.
you to be my lawyer. I mean, come on. Why can't the British justice system be more like American justice?
I think it should be. I love the whole idea of the courts is all about theatre anyway. The reason I became a barrister was because probably a frustrated actor.
You want to be an actor.
Absolutely. But I write my own script, and that's the great thing about it. So, and you can change it all the time.
Well,
the
that's
realities.
might be your downfall.
I thank you. Where is that tweet?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's a TV show for you. Thank you to my regular guest, JJ Anisiobi, and to a barrister and futurologist.
Thank you. Love to see both
Good to
of
have you on board, both of you. That's it. We'll be back same time, same place next week with another edition of What Just Happened? What just happened?